I'm delighted to be here today to, through the electronic media, address you on a very important development that is taking place in the cultural renaissance of India, which was really intellectually articulated and introduced and spread by Rajiv Malhotra through his variety of books, starting with Breaking India, and he's written numerous books on a variety of dimensions of the cultural renaissance that we are all aiming at. And the development of a modern Indian mindset rooted in the past but ready to innovate for the future. That's the goal of man making that Rajiv Malhotra at the core has been addressing. Now, with Satyanarayana and Dasa Babaji, he has formulated a new concept called Sanskrit Non-Translatables, and that is a new way of Sanskritizing English. Now, English is no more a British language; it's an international language. It's spoken in Japan. It's spoken in South Korea, in China, in the Middle East. It's become an international language, and the English have lost, shall I say, control of it. And so the world is now seeing a lot of new phrases and so on coming. And the best example is when you speak to an American, you see words which you will not see an Englishman uttering, but it's part of English. So in that context, Rajiv Malhotra and his colleague, Babaji, they are advocating what they call as loaning Sanskrit words to English without a translation. Now, is this possible? Well, if you look at a mother teaching language to a child, is there any translation? It's just by example, by physical, presentation. For instance, she will take a pot and tell her child patra, and so the child will only know patra. It will not know vessel, nothing of any other. So that becomes a part of your language, and it becomes assimilated in your mental process. Now, today, Sanskrit words are there in every Indian language, some more, some less. And what Rajiv Malhotra correctly says is many of the Sanskrit words already in English, they have a different, a limited meaning or a different meaning. Pandit. Pandit is a multivarious concept. Similarly, Om. How do you explain Om? Ahimsa. Ahimsa is not pacifism. It is preference in circumstances. And Krishna is demonstrated in Mahabharata, which is one of the most violent wars we have had in our histories, that ahimsa did not mean non-violence in the sense of absoluteness, which perhaps, in my opinion, Gandhi misread it, or people misread Gandhi, because Gandhi did support India sending troops to Kashmir. So therefore, these words acquire a false meaning when you bring it in through translation. And today, most of the English Sanskrit teachers who are purists, they do not give translations at all. If they pick up an apple, they will say, "What is the Sanskrit word for apple?" They will not say like that. They say, "What is this?" So this is what is meant by a transmission and by communication, learning by communication. And that is why today we are finding a situation where Sanskrit words are to be introduced in a language in its own right, and that is what he calls as loaning Sanskrit words. They cannot abrogate that word in their language. And even our constitution, Article 340, says that Hindi should use Sanskrit words and Devanagari should be the script. So Devanagari is a script of Marathi, it's a script of Nepali, and so on. So you have today basically a Sanskritization process, which Rajiv Malhotra and his colleague want to accelerate. I would also point out to you that there are now schools of thought which make you learn Sanskrit by memorization without knowing the meaning, because the mere repetition of those words make a lot of difference. For example, St. James School in London, which is in three branches, they have made Sanskrit as a second compulsory language. And every morning they make the students recite Sanskrit shlokas without many of them even knowing the meaning at the early stage. Later on, as they learn Sanskrit, they begin to understand it. But because repetition of these words, or sing it in the form of a prayer in the morning, develops the brain faster than any other language. And that is why in an elite school like St. James School, the principal has decided, the board has agreed to make Sanskrit as a second language and make them recite Sanskrit shlokas. They don't talk about secularism and so on. So in this context, what we are having today is a situation where Sanskrit may become an international language. It's already now accepted as an international language, for the sole international language for artificial intelligence. But over the period of time, as others also start accumulating because of the pressure of knowing about the advanced technologies, you will find that Sanskrit will be Sanskritizing all the religions. So it's a very revolutionary idea of Rajiv Malhotra and his colleague Babaji. And I think this needs to be publicized, supported, and propagated by all those who learn from the lecture that Rajiv Malhotra and his colleagues are going to give you. And therefore, I am very honored and pleased that I'm here today to give you a brief introduction.